Happy Thursday. It's a Trigger Rich Bond Trigger back again with 2 p.m. with the Trigger. Always giving you insights, tips, and tricks to help you shine on camera and shine on stage. And reason why? Help you amplify you and your brand authority to be seen as a go-to expert. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. And what do you do as a CEO, as an executive, and you've been approached by your team, you've been told by other people or encouraged by other people, you need a podcast, but you really don't know why you need a podcast. There's a lot of reasons to have a podcast as a executive, as a leader of a company. I talk with a lot of them. And often when they talk with me, they're like, I get it, that podcasts are great. I just don't see why I need one. What can it do for me? What can it do for my company? How will it make a difference in what we do? And they'll often mention, the news podcasts, the entertainment podcasts. They'll talk about the different variations, but they can't get the idea around as a CEO, they should have a podcast. First and foremost, they are the captain of the ship that steers their company. You are the face, the brand, the voice of everything you do. And more companies, besides talking about what they do, need to talk about who's doing it. Who better than the CEO, than the president, the vice president, one of the top tier leaders? Who's better than anybody else to talk about our amazing team and what we do and how we assemble it? Power of recognition with the podcast is very, very powerful. And many people doing business podcasts miss this one. They miss the idea. Yeah, you can talk about what you sell, which a lot of business podcasts do. They really talk about their clients. They talk about what they sell, how they package it, where they get their merchandise from around the world, and human rights and things like that, which are all great things to talk about. But very often, business podcasts are missing recognizing their team through the podcast. There is a power that really comes when a leader stops. It says, hey, we have this great accounting team. This week, we're going to recognize Sue. Sue's been with us for 10 years. Sue, and they would do a highlight. They do an interview with Sue. They put the spotlight on that one teammate, and that recognition is not just about her. It's a part of the overall company. When leaders use a podcast to do that, to bring them in, that individual is going to feel like, wow, they really care. They really recognize me. They treat me like part of the essential team, which you probably do, or you at least communicate that. But how do you show that? By bringing them on camera, bringing them on the audio podcast, by introducing them, asking them questions about their family, their kids, their hobbies, their dog, what do they do outside of the company. It enriches everybody. And it adds so much value and worth to your team. And then next time, interview somebody else. Now, it doesn't have to be the whole podcast. You can make this a special feature of your podcast. Every podcast, stop and say, hey, today, here's our company-wide spotlight. I'm going to intro to Frank. And next week, you go to Gonzalez. You go spin it around. But this recognition power is something that not only do your company appreciates, your clients are going to appreciate that you recognize your team at a high level. People want to know, again, know, like, trust. With that comes respect and value. If you're able to demonstrate your know, like, trust, and if you're able to bring in the other people, your clients are going to be way more endeared to you. Many of them may have email conversations and they've never seen their face. You bring on one of those people and they're going to go, oh, that's who I've been corresponding with for the last X amount of weeks. They now know who it is. It raises the bar. So another way to do this is you can have an award. Okay, this quarter we were doing this, and this, and besides just giving a plaque on the wall, giving them an email or free candy bar, or a gift certificate for Amazon, whatever you do, bring the award to your podcast and make it like, hey, this quarter, XYZ did this, and we want to make sure we recognize this as part of what we do here because we care about our teammates, and they make a world of difference. What do you think of that? What do you think of not just having a business podcast for the sake of having a podcast, because they're all over the place. And you have to figure out what your niche is, how you're going to communicate, what style it is. But what if you also turn it as a way to elevate your team? It works for external outreach. People are going to love that. As I mentioned, it's going to go inside your company because people are going to say, wow, I wonder when my week's coming up. It will also challenge your team to keep rising up because they know with that comes recognition. And who doesn't want to be recognized? Who doesn't want to be known for doing X, Y, Z and shining brightly? And the boss recognizes that. You can even have this as a roundtable. Another way to leverage your podcast to bring recognition is bring different heads from different departments together and literally talk about, hey, we as a company are struggling with this. We're having these conversations. Today, I want to bring you inside and I want to talk about these three heads of these departments that I work with closely. And here's what we're discussing. We're going to give you an inside glimpse of what they're bringing to the table of the overall company. Again, you're going to recognize, but now you're going to recognize a topic, a struggle, a change in your company way of operating. But it's not just you communicating. You're going to recognize the leaders that are in the trenches with you, helping you make the difference. Podcasting can be such a powerful thing for companies, for corporations, for leaders. Often they think it's just about selling more goods. They get it on, they talk about that newest widget, that newest gadget. They talk about the new expo they're going to, the new book they have coming out. But really, it's about people. The real magic of all podcasting is the human person. I mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating again. Podcasting gets inside your heart, not just your head. You may put on those earbuds, but you're as intimate as it could be as you walk, as you jog, as you exercise, as you clean. There's something about science has said there's something about being right here. And it literally jumps from here, jumps to your heart because you can feel the conversation. Your eardrum vibrates. You can hear the excitement a little bit more. You can hear the background sounds way more clear. There's something very intimate about podcasting. Streaming video podcasting the very same way. I love watching video podcasts to see how they interact, how they play, who's laughing, who's leaning in. Are they a playful leadership team? Or are they an intimate leadership team? Or are they all tied up suit and jackets and very boring? This makes a world of difference. If you're pondering having one as a CEO, as an executive, if your team is currently discussing it, I would highly, highly recommend going for it. Have someone be the champion of that podcast. Have your producer, whoever's going to be producing it, they be the one that help create that vibe, create the energy, and your CEO, your VP, whoever's going to be the main host of it, make sure they're totally in alignment of what the goal is and how you're going to recognize your team through the podcast. One big mistake executives often make, whether it's for the podcast, day-to-day operations, we are so outward marketing focused. We forget about our own people. We forget about making sure they realize we care. They're doing a killer job. And especially in these times that we're going through right now, coming out of COVID, your team stuck it out. They hunkered down with you. We're going through a recession. And it's probably going to get deeper, they say. You need to make deposits back inside your team. And one of the great ways is going to do it, take a podcast, turn around and highlight your team, celebrate their wins, celebrate their genius, and let them know you care. And let the world know you have amazing, great people. Oh, and by the way, it helps with your recruitment. Who doesn't want to work for a company that recognizes their people? That's going to do it for today on the Trigger Rich Bond Trader. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? Are you leveraging your podcast for your people or just for the outside world? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out anytime. Again, rich@richbondtrigger.net. You can always send me an email and ask me questions. What would you like me to talk about here? From media, to branding, to marketing, podcasting techniques. How do you come alive on camera? I'd love to have your questions come to me, rich@richbondtrigger.net. And of course, check out our services, their offerings. I host events. I help you create events. RockTheStageMedia.com has a lot of information there to help you shine on camera and shine on stage. I'll see you tomorrow, again, 2 p.m. with the Trigger.